He's shocked about how big her boobs are. He's like, "Wow!"
Oh, that's how he died.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
Welcome back to the Throne of the Dragon podcast, the show that covers each and every episode of HBO's House of the Dragon. And in the off season, we are covering Fire and Blood. I'm Josh, and with me, as always, is my co-host Curtis, who is a little distracted over there.
What?
Curtis?
Huh? It's just so darn distracting.
Stop staring at the Costain woman, and
Huh? Are we live? Oh, we're live.
it's going. It's
Uh, it's a gruesome scene over here, Josh. As you can see, somebody's been brutally murdered. Not really sure, but let's say that he died of some pretty good shock.
You died of shock.
Pretty good shock indeed.
That's right. Today, Curtis, we are talking about Maegor. And where we left off last week, his brother Aenys had just died. Aenys was always pretty sickly, and I don't know if there's really anything in particular that you could say caused that. I mean, he went into Visenia's care a little bit before, but he did improve. It doesn't really seem like foul play. It's just kind of on all accounts, just a sick man.
Stress.
Yeah. Well, and the
He had a lot.
stress.
Well, I mean, just had like a lot weighing on him.
Yeah, for sure. And he was
Following in
also
your
just like not a healthy person.
No, that's for sure. A lot of McDonald's every day. No. Yeah, I think several things factoring into it. One, following in your father's footsteps. Because he united the realm, the seven kingdoms. And so trying to keep all that together and put out the fires that come about once you finally take, control as king and everything, that's a lot on his plate. And we saw how indecisive he was over his reign in certain situations. And then on top of that, when things finally started breaking down, you're worrying about your children. What was it they said? He was in his like mid to early 30s, but he looked like he was like 60 or 70.
Yeah.
It's like, good Lord, dude. Just stress himself out too much, I think.
Yeah. Well, there are three big things I think to talk about when it comes to Maegor. That's his relation with the faith, his relationship with his family, and his relationship with his wives. There's not really anything about Maegor, in this chapter that aren't one of those three things.
Right, yeah.
So
revolves around those three. Yep.
yeah. So instead of going kind of event by event here, like we would in the previous episodes, I want to hone in on a couple important events that occurred, some interesting things, but pretty much anything in this is going to tie back to either his constant war with the Faith Militant, his constant worry about his family having a better claim than he does to the throne, and his wives, who he can't seem to get pregnant, and well,
he does.
He does get pregnant.
He just can't get that child.
Yeah, but horrible things always happen to his kids, and we find out later that that's because of Tiana.
Yeah.
Which is odd. I don't know why she decided to start doing that somewhere along the way.
She's a witch.
Yeah, but um, so like we were saying at the end of the last episode, Maegor comes back um pretty quickly to Dragonstone after Annie's death to put on the crown, and he doesn't. I like his move to go with Aegon's crown, not the one that Aenys had made.
Right.
Queen Alyssa decides that she's gonna get out of there. She takes. She doesn't have Aegon with her, so she takes Jaehaerys and Viserys, and
I thought it was the
then
two daughters and Jaehaerys, wasn't it?
she takes Viserys with her too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But I thought she took two daughters with her. Or am I thinking? Oh, no, 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 no. Never mind.
No,
Never mind. Never mind. Never mind.
yeah, I think
I
you're
know who I'm
thinking
thinking
of
of.
Rhaena.
Yeah, I'm thinking of
Yeah,
Raina.
Aegon's wife.
Yeah.
So she takes Jaehaerys, Viserys, and Alysanne, and they all go back to Driftmark. Um, One of the coolest parts about this chapter, what I want to spend some time talking about, is Maegor taking back King's Landing from the Faith Militant in the
Right.
Trial of Seven.
Yeah.
Have we ever talked about a Trial of Seven before?
We may have mentioned it, but never really went into details.
Okay, because we get one in the Duncan Eggs stories too.
Okay.
And it's always a pretty epic event. You know, it's a trial by combat, but 7-on-7.
Yeah.
So, um, and yeah, so while Annie's has been sick, Maegor's been gone, everybody's been on Dragonstone, the Faith Militant have kind of taken over King's Landing. Um, Maegor and Visenya come back and set up shop. Um, I know you said you really like how detailed he gets about everything, you know?
Mhm. Yes. Yeah.
So I did take down the names of everybody involved in this fight. You know, some of them are
Mhm.
going to be people from major houses, lesser houses, guys who are nobodies, hedge
Exactly. Yeah.
knights. So, um, but in the Trial of Seven, the Warriors' sons are made up of Damon Morgan, um, Lyle Bracken, Harris Hop, Dickon Flowers, Aegon Ambrose, Garibald of the Seven Stars, and Willem the Wanderer. And then against them, with Maegor, obviously Maegor, Dick Bean, who was the first to speak up for Maegor. He was just a man at arms.
Nobody.
Yeah. Ben Brune, Bram of Blackhall. Um, yeah, and Bram is just a hedge knight. And we've got Rayford Rosby, Guy Lawston, and Lucifer Massey.
But at the same time, it's kind of like it's good that Dick did what he did. That's hard to say. Dick did what he did because I mean there really wasn't anybody else stepping up. And when he did, all these other guys that were more important in status were like, well, we're not gonna let this dude, match us. Really? Okay, I'll go,
Yeah.
So because there really was
Um,
no support for Magor there at the beginning. It was kind of like,
well, it's this like constant struggle with the faith, you know. A lot
right,
of these greater houses want to stay true to Old Town and the High Septon,
right.
and their religion, but it makes it tough when there's somebody in front of you with a dragon, you know?
It's true.
And that's kind of the back and forth through this whole chapter. or
Right.
through the second half of this chapter.
Right.
Um, I like the way they describe the fight, like how just quickly everything happens.
Mhm.
It reminds me a lot of the Tower of Joy scene in the show, how just like from the first couple like sword hits, somebody's already dead on the ground.
Right.
So it's like that kind of thing happens quickly. It's not like a movie, where it's
Overproduced and yeah,
super long
dramatic and
fight between two guys. Yeah, it's like in a quick scrap like that, like guys are going to go down fast.
yeah,
It's going to be
somebody's
a
got to
lot
go down.
of,
Somebody's got to be the first one.
yeah, for sure. Um, and then even Maegor takes a pretty bad hit in the end
Mhm.
there, that leaves him kind of on death's door for a while.
Right.
I think they said about a month he was in almost a coma. And he doesn't come out of it until Tiana comes with Alice Haraway. And we talked about Alice Haraway in the last episode. She was Maegor's second wife
Mhm.
that he had basically been exiled over.
Right.
Um, this force that they bring back with them almost seems insignificant. Like they bring 600 cell swords back.
Mhm.
But pretty shortly after this, when Maegor starts fighting the Faith, we know he has at least 20,000 loyalists with him. So it's like 620,000 just doesn't feel like shit.
Well, but at the time though, it's like when they came back though, it's kind of like, okay, I mean, that's something, you
Yeah,
know.
and he was in a bad spot when they
Right.
showed up.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of like, I mean, 600 is better than zero or me and a dragon, I guess. I don't know. How much is a dragon worth? What's the ratio?
Um, so Tiana takes care of Maegor. He gets better pretty quickly. And then this is like the first strikeout at the Faith, really. The Trial of Seven was just, I'm back. You guys think you've kind of taken over, but I'm your king. And it was settled there.
Right.
But this is their first kind of snap back at the Faith, and it's the slaughter at the Hill of Rainies.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's just going to be a lot of this back and forth between him and the Stars and Swords. And yeah, it's it
It's a
feels
constant
like,
struggle
yeah, it
throughout
just
his
feels
life.
like on both sides that like we got to be able to come to some agreement, because this is just going to be slaughter forever, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Um, and I don't remember. I think it wasn't it Maegor who like outlawed the Faith Militant.
I believe so. Yeah, I'm
It was
pretty sure
either
you're
him or
right.
Jaehaerys, I think.
Because I think it was Maegor because remember it gets to a point where um, the few that are left are kind of in hiding, like out in the forests and such. And it gets to a point where later in Maegor's reign, where it's like those people are aided by local villages and everything like that because of disgruntled, um, people of the kingdom.
Yeah.
So I think it was Maegor. Because isn't I mean again, it's like you get into Jaehaerys, he's more like kind of in the I don't really want to say middle, but I mean he's definitely not what Maegor was. He's
No.
more like I want to make things right and we need to keep peace overall throughout the land.
Yeah.
So I don't see him doing anything like that. I see him more as a restorer of peace between the two.
Yeah.
So I think it is Maegor.
I can kind of see why they do it because this it just never ends, you know?
Yeah.
Like he goes on and on and on. And then we even see in Game of Thrones that it's like when, the
Mm.
High Sparrow
Shame.
and yeah, the poor fellows all get their start, like you get a foot in the door, then it's hard to stop them. And they get
Mhm.
the common people on their side. There's a lot of the greater houses that they get on their side too, because this is a lot of these great houses religion.
Right.
um Pretty much everybody in the South. So um and it always like seems to fire up when Maegor's been someplace for a while, like when he's focused in on the construction of the Red Keep. um that's when they all start popping up again. That's when they start making these big attacks or gathering big numbers. When he's at Old Town, that's when people start gathering up in different places. So anytime he gets not focused on them, they start crawling back out.
Right.
Um, we're talking about some of those, like the greater houses who stay loyal to the faith, and those are the ones that get burned.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Literally and figuratively.
like going through my notes here, even it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Most of Maegor's reign was just dealing with the faith militant. Um, Finally this thing gets pushed over to Old Town because the High Septon's not going to back down.
Right.
And either somebody from the outside or somebody from the inside, gets in there and kills him the night before the fight.
Right.
And
Avoid destruction, man.
yeah, and they submit to Maegor like Old Town had submitted to Aegon before.
I was gonna say when he walked in, I mean the flags were already raised. Targaryen, flags, and they were welcomed as champions.
Um, I love this guy that they replaced the High Septon with, though, Septon Peter.
So simple.
Yeah,
Septon Peter at your service.
he was the one who was like blind, I think, and
Yeah, yeah. He was all super old.
couldn't remember
Yeah.
the
It,
vows and stuff.
it made me think of the Maester. I don't remember his name, but on Game of Thrones, the old guy, the super old guy.
Maester Aemon.
Yeah, Amen. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. Wait a minute. This one had the beard. He was in King's Landing.
Oh, Grand Maester Pycelle.
Yeah, there you go. Pycelle. Yeah. Makes you think of him.
Okay. Um, I think that was right. That was when he right around the time he got married to Tyanna too, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Um,
they got him to do it and he
yeah,
forgot some of the words and he was just kind of stumbling through it. And yeah, and it was kind of a mess.
yeah,
But he's just a puppet basically, so
yeah. Um, we were talking about when Maegor's singularly focused on something. Um, that's when things kind of start to happen around them.
mhm.
So, um, he's stalled out at Old Town for a while, and while he's there, Aegon and Rhaena take the opportunity to um, go get their dragons from King's Landing, for Rhaena to get her dragon that she already had, Dreamfire, and Aegon had planned to claim his father's dragon, Quicksilver. That's probably a good time to get into, we talked about the faith a little bit. It's probably a good time to get into his family. So Alyssa, Amy's wife, she kind of tries to clear everybody out. She
Yeah.
tries to get out of there. And I think when Amy's died, Aegon and Rhaena they were like doing their like royal
They're on
procession
tour.
thing. Yeah, they're on
Yeah.
tour. They wind up being at Casterly Rock for a long
Mhm.
time. Eventually, Aegon decides that he's going to try to challenge Maegor. Aegon is the rightful heir by
Right.
Westerosi, succession. So
Yeah.
he's got the strongest claim. He rallies a lot of lords to him, but most of them were smaller houses or like kind of mid-range houses.
Right. He didn't really get any major houses, did he?
Not that I remember hearing in there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and that's the thing is like when Aegon or not Aegon, when Maegor comes against him because they've got enemies on all sides, like all these
Right.
different lords have raised hosts kind of around them, and when Maegor shows up, he's got a lot of the major lords with him. Like the
Right.
Tullys are with him. It's not some of the smaller Riverland houses. Um, and that's the problem, I think, is that he doesn't have like the Lannisters' full support. He is getting support from them through like one of their bastards, but they don't have the Lannister support. And they mention like Winterfell and the Vale as two of the ones that wanted to see if he actually stood a chance
Right.
before joining him. But that whole thing goes horribly.
Horrible.
Um, I definitely don't, they pose the question of would it have mattered if Dreamfire had joined the fight too? And I definitely don't think so.
No.
Like Balerion is a monster,
Just too
and
big.
that
Yeah.
dragon
Too
has
much.
seen war, and the other two have not.
Well, and
Just
it's like the final scene of season one House of Dragon when the two dragons are fighting. It's like a full grown man versus a child.
right.
That's not gonna work out.
Yeah. That's
So
definitely not a fair fight.
no, it's not, man.
Um, so after Aegon's death, um, his brother Viserys is, he's a squire for Maegor, and he
Well,
gets
the other thing too we didn't mention was his wife was really kind of against him going and doing this. Obviously she supported his claim, but she at one point begged him, it's like, just take us away from Westeros, get us out of here, and in the end, it's like he decided, no, I need to go do this. I need to go stake my claim and take what's really rightfully mine, you know.
yeah.
So
Um, and then at some point, I don't remember what the trigger was, um, but he has Viserys tortured.
Yeah,
Um,
what was the
I can't remember if it was over the location of Alyssa, but
I don't remember.
but he has Viserys tortured and killed. So
Yeah.
he
Mm,
kills his oldest nephew, kills the next oldest, and then that just leaves Jaehaerys and Alysanne. Um, and then Aegon's got, he's got the two daughters as well.
right,
Those are the two that you were thinking of at the beginning.
right.
Um,
Because she goes into hiding with her two daughters, dyes their hair. I mean, tries everything she can to get them away from Aegon and to not be found.
yeah.
Which doesn't work
No,
out
get him
for
away from
him.
Maegor. Maegor.
Yeah, or Maegor. I mean, sorry. Well, maybe Aegon too. I don't know.
um, yeah, and then Jaehaerys eventually takes over the throne after Maegor's death, but
Mhm.
we don't have anything beyond that small group. It feels like their family is very large, but it's like, it's just his
Very
nieces
small,
and
actually. Yeah.
nephews and his sister-in-law, and then he has like a grand, two grand nieces, I guess, basically.
Mm.
Or second nieces, or however the hell you would quantify that. Um, a couple other just notable things like through this time. They mention all the secret passages that Maegor had built into the Red Keep, and then to protect those secrets, had all the workers who built them killed. And we see some
Yeah.
of those passages in House of the Dragon. One
Didn't
of
they do
them
that
just
too for
happens to
the
be in Rhaenyra's bedroom.
yeah? Didn't they do that too to the all the workers that finished the Red Keep? There was something else, some other construction that they did in Magor's time that it's like I think they had like a struggle just trying to even get people because it's like I'm not gonna go do that construction. I know what's waiting for me at the end, but I can't
Yeah,
remember what it was.
it was. I mean, it was the Red Keep, but I don't remember like. I remember what you're talking about. That they're having trouble getting people to do the work, but yeah, no, it's probably just more of the hold fast there because
Yeah,
there's
I mean that's
layers
what I
to
was
it.
thinking.
There's
I think
like
that's what I'm saying. I think it was two things. I think it was building the Red Keep or finishing or whatever, and then the whole secret tunnel deal. And both the reasons were they didn't want, possibility of enemies later on figuring out weaknesses or figuring out where these tunnels are at or whatever.
okay. So I know there's like the Red Keep, and then there's Maegor's Hold Fast.
Yeah. Or maybe it was Magor's Holdfast. I don't know, it was something. There's two I just remember two constructions that yeah, once they got to I think the tunnel ones I
Oh,
think was the first one, wasn't it?
was the other one you were thinking about the Dragon Pit?
That's what it is. The Dragon
Okay.
Pit. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it was. Because they
And that
couldn't they
was
struggled getting people to do construction for them on it.
yeah.
But yeah. I
That
promise you're not gonna die.
I was like, guys, don't worry. There's no secret passages here. It's
There's
just a
no
Colosseum type.
it's just a Coliseum, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Dragon Pit was the other one. Um, I've always thought about the Dragon Pit and like you gotta have. I wonder, like, it makes me wonder what they did in Valyria. like what their method of like, stabling dragons essentially was.
Yeah.
It's talked down on by Daenerys and Game of Thrones. She says this place was the beginning of the end for my family,
Right.
which is odd. Like the beginning of the end for your family was the dance, not Maegor building the dragon pit,
Right.
because that's where you guys lost the most dragons. So that doesn't even really make any sense.
It doesn't
But
even make any sense.
you can't, you also can't keep,
Well, once again, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, when you get to that, last few seasons, you don't really have material and they're just kind of sending it home. So,
yeah. Um, I guess if this place is just massive, you know, I guess it makes sense because then dragons could still grow inside it.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like the show kind of shows the dragon pit in a negative light. At least in Game of Thrones, it doesn't really feel that way in House of the Dragon.
Right.
And then, yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't feel. Anytime I read about it, it doesn't feel as negative as like the show makes it out to be. Because yeah, I would argue that not the dragon pit wasn't the cause of you know
The downfall.
yeah.
No, no. There was plenty of other things.
Yeah, there's lots of other things.
See, dragons are not the problem. Humans are the problem.
Let's talk about the wives a little bit. Do you remember? Yep. Do you remember Maegor's first wife?
Yeah, what was her name?
Selyse Hightower.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, that was his first marriage, his arranged marriage. Um, and she's kind of been around. She'll be at court, while he's king.
Well, she's
But
just
then,
there.
yeah, but she's just kind of there. We also have Alice Haraway, who was his second wife that he got banished over. Tiana of the Tower, who he married after they took Old Town again.
Yeah.
And then we've got the better known Black Brides, which was the triple wedding. That was to his niece Rhaena Targaryen, Jane Westerling, and Eleanor Costain. Yep, that's Eleanor Costain over there over your shoulder.
Hey.
Um, and yeah, all of these except for the last three. Or I guess it's so it'd be the first. Oh no, I guess just the first two. The first two had given him deformed children.
Hmm.
And Alice Haraway is the one who uh, gets killed because Tiana reveals that Alice's dad was having all these other guys try to get her pregnant
Yeah.
so that she wouldn't have
Hmm.
Maegor's kid.
Yes.
So Maegor has like all of these people killed and then also decides he's going to completely root out her family,
Hmm.
which is, a lot of this stuff is repeated in Targaryen history, but this is the same kind of thing that's going to happen later in House of the Dragon. It's probably no surprise that we've already seen it happen to several of them, but it's probably no surprise that the House Strong is going to get completely burned off the face of the earth.
Right.
So, but yeah, Maegor pretty much just obliterates House Haraway. has Lady Alice tortured and killed. Selyse Hightower also gets herself killed. That's one of those disputed stories. Different maesters say different things. Um, one of them had said that Maegor was going to have her tongue cut out and she struggled with the guard and he accidentally killed her.
Right.
Um, but I guess Rhaena is. Oh no, I guess the Black Brides walk out of this because he also decides to kill Tiana when he finds out that she's been poisoning
Mm.
Alice and
Some like deformed
Selyse.
babies.
Yeah, so that they won't have kids. Um, and then, of course, Rhaena, she runs and joins up with Jaehaerys the first chance she gets.
Right.
Um, I haven't decided what I think happened to Maegor. There's a few things suggested, but what do you think? Do you think that things, because when Jaehaerys announces that he's going to make a move for the throne, he's got all these major lords backing him. And
Right.
like one by
There's a
one, all the
lot of
great houses come over.
yeah, a lot of
Um,
disgruntled people by this time, man.
yeah, he's being championed by the Baratheons. And they have two, about to be three dragons,
Hmm.
versus the one, Vagar's, I don't know if Vagar has left King's Landing by this point. I don't know if he's in the, or she's in the dragon pit, but Visenya is dead.
Right.
So that leaves her riderless. Um, I think I don't know. I just don't take Maegor for like somebody who would kill himself, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only other option is somebody snuck in there. Well, there's two options besides that is somebody snuck in and killed him, or like they said, the guards were all in and on it together, but there was too many guards that they kind of ruled that out where it's like, it's too much coordination there, and they just didn't feel like it was that good of a possibility. So it really kind of narrows down to whether he fell on his own swords or or yeah, somebody snuck in there and killed themselves, you know.
Yeah.
Whether that be a wife or just a random assassin or whatever. I don't know, man. It's very interesting to know the truth, but I mean, we're not going to get that.
No, but I don't know, it's interesting. The thought that somebody could just come in there and kill Maegor like that, I mean, the only like wounds that he has on him are the ones that killed him, and they're all from the throne. So I don't know. It almost seems like it would have to be a group effort for them to like maybe just shove him down on those blades or
Ooh.
Maegor is
Yeah.
a great warrior. Like I don't know who would go in there one on one with him and be able to do that to him without just beating him in combat.
Did they say how old he was when he died?
Um he would have only been it's like 60 something years after conquest. So he would have been maybe like 30.
Oh wow.
Maybe no, it would have had to have been older because Aenys was the oldest. He died at like 35 around there. And he was like 5 or 6 years older than Maegor.
That'd be 29, 30.
And then Maegor ruled another like at least 10 years.
So 40.
I'm going to say 40 to 50. Let's say that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, the reason I'm asking about the age is maybe his strength from when he first took over is he's just not there anymore. I don't know. That's the other thing too, is like, I mean, being a king, I mean that crown is heavy, man, and a lot of stuff weighs down on you. And we talk about it with Aenys at the beginning of this episode. And so, with as much like conflict that Maegor has between, the rightful claims from Aegon and Jaehaerys, kind of those two things battling, plus dealing with the faith over and over and over and over and over, and then on top of that, all worrying about, like, for some reason I can't have a son. Why can't I not have kids in general? Why can't I not get these women pregnant? And finally you do, and it's like every time it's the same thing. It's a deformed monster that just doesn't live. And so then you got that stress weighing on you. And yeah, I don't know, man. You just kind of wonder how much it really takes out of you in those 10 years, you know?
Yeah. I'm
I don't
sure
know.
it adds to it.
Yeah. Yeah, you would probably think that it would be, if it was some assassins, it would be a group effort. But I don't know, man. I mean, you don't really have to push him. I mean, I guess you could have a guy on either side of him kind of bringing his arms into it real quick and then just kind of pulling his head back on that sword too. I don't know, man. It's brutal though.
I would like to know.
I would too, man. But like I said, he's not gonna. It's not like we're gonna wake up tomorrow and George R. R. Martin's gonna tweet about it or anything. You
Maybe.
know, maybe if we all group tweeted at him enough, he'll finally break and be like, "All right, this is what happened." I doubt it, but
Not likely.
yeah. So
And then after that, Jaehaerys is going to take the throne. We will talk about Jaehaerys in the next one. We're gonna have to break that up into a few parts. I don't know how many I'm gonna do just yet, but
okay,
um, I don't want to get too down in the mud. There's some long chapters that covers a good portion of the book, and it's going to take us all the way up to Viserys.
yeah,
So, and then we're going to start getting into some of the stuff from House of the Dragon. We'll probably stop just before we would get into spoiler territory, I guess.
okay,
And after that, I guess we'll still be looking to kill some time. So we'll probably have to move on to the Dunk and Egg novellas.
okay,
So,
cool.
all right. Well, like I said, that next episode is going to be on Jaehaerys and Alysanne. But until that one comes out, make sure you guys follow us over on Twitter at Is Survived by Productions. That's where you can get the news on all of our latest episodes. You can also follow me on my personal at Joshua Lynn Gary. If you like this show and you want to, tune in, find out, see what we got going on some other shows, we do a show called the Red Right Hand Podcast, which is all about the Peaky Blinders. It is friendly to first time and rewatchers, so go check that out. We also have two other shows, the History of the Cores podcast and History of the Cores After Hours. Both of those shows cover bands in core genres. We talk about the history of a band, some albums we like, albums we don't like, and just learn a lot of stuff about music along the way there. I think that was all of them. That was all of them. Next episode of this show hopefully will be a little bit of an update on season 2 of House of the Dragon. I can't do too much because, I don't want to start talking too much about the storyline for the next season. are trying to keep it spoiler free here as much as possible. So, um, but make sure you guys follow us to keep up with when all those episodes get new postings. Anything else, Curtis? Anything to say?
No, no,
All right.
no, nothing I can
All
think of,
right.
man. Although I
Well,
will say this, I just realized that if we're sticking with the June 2024 date of season 2, I just realized it's a lot closer than what I thought. I don't know why. I was sitting here thinking 2024 is like 2 years away, and I'm like, dang, this sucks. And then I realized it was like, no, you moron, that's like less than half a year.
you just lost a whole year.
Yeah, what happened?
All right. Well, until the next episode, we'll see ya.